All right, so I'm just going to start off. We're going to flip the order a little bit so that we can get Jerry on and then on with his day. But I'll just kind of review the agenda. So first of all, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us in this format. Right now, I'm continuing to see more people arriving to our meeting, and I think we've got close to 60 people so far. So that's wonderful. I'm so glad that everybody was able to attend and make it. So we sent out the agenda yesterday, and I was hoping to be able to get some questions in advance so that our guest speakers would have access to a few questions in advance, but that's okay, don't worry about it. Whenever we do these, if you do send questions in advance, it just does make things a little bit easier. We can provide those questions. Any research that our speakers need to do, we'll be able to take care of doing that in advance. So for future. So our agenda starts off with some good news and some announcements, and then we were going to do an excellent showcase, but we're going to flip the order. Jamie, did you just want to jump right into Jerry, or did you want to cover the good news portion first?
I'd like to hear the good news.
Okay. All right. So just in terms of some office updates, we wanted to remind you that the Harbor Square office is the only one that's open, and it's open Monday to Friday from 9 to 5. It's not open to the public. However, if you have any business that you need to do with the office, keep in mind that this is the office that's open. I have checked Bay Street office for mail. There was some mail, and I brought it down the other night. If there is anything and you happen to be going into the Bay Street office, if you don't mind just letting me know so that I know whether or not I need to take a trip up there. If you are a doll and want to bring it down to Harbor Square, feel free. Just let us know if there is anything. And once we bring it down to Harbor Square, we will page it out to you. So if there's a piece of mail for you, we will page it out and let you know that it's here. So Olga will take care of letting you know. We've got some good news to share as well, and that is, let me show you what it is. I think it's good news. So the good news is the TREB fees have been supposed to be deferred. Sorry about the little typo there. Have been deferred until September 30th. There was an announcement. I believe you are able to click on that link. So if you wanted to review the announcement from TREB itself, you can feel free to do that. And then you'll see. But I thought that was kind of nice that it just helps that right now, every little bit helps for those of you that are asking what's changing. So here's one good thing. Also, we wanted to really highlight and focus on the fact that TREB now, although open houses are a strict no-no, they are now allowing live streaming open houses. And we've recorded the information for how to do that. So the steps involved with logging a virtual open house are listed. We've got it on our Google Drive. That one's not a link, but we'll make sure to get that available as a shareable item shortly.
I do have the instructions up in our shared Remax resource tool for how to upload a live stream.
Any chance
I'll put it in the chat.
Perfect. That's what I was just going to ask you. Thank you.
Oh, I don't know if can I put it in the chat?
You should be able to. You can chat with everybody.
Jackie, just an FYI, there's some people saying they can't hear anything, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it might be based on how people have their how they have their setup right now.
That's what I thought.
Jackie, if you could type to the people that are having volume issues, I'll just continue here.
Yeah, there might be, if you check the bottom corner, there's a little button that's got like a speaker or a microphone. Try hitting that, and then also check your speaker volume on your phone, on your computer.
Don't forget, while we're talking about good news, you may have some good news that you wanted to share. So I'd love to open up the floor, and certainly we could unmute anybody, or you could put any comments you want us to share into the chat. So has anybody had some amazing, great stories to share with all of us?
What I'd like to do with that, it's Jamie here. I'd like to maybe delay that a little bit and try to get through a couple of graphs on good news and then turn it over to Jerry so he can be on his way for the rest of the morning.
Perfect. All right.
All right.
Okay.
So Really and truly, people like to see market stats. So here's what the GTA sales, and the number difference from TREB sales slightly, simply because we're just looking at the GTA weekly sales versus TREB is basically all of Ontario now. So you can see it trend down from 2,200 from March 1 to the 7th to the last month is the last week is 651 sales. We then looked at the next slide, which is we looked at our primary market, which is condo sales and leases for CO1, CO8, and W06 combined. You can see where we were in the first week. We're going to make these slides available to you. Correct, Jackie?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
The graphs?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I can upload them. Actually, Pamela, if I seem to think I can't upload files to the group chat, and I don't know if it's what you have me set as preference-wise, but I can do links. I just can't upload files right now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, keep going, Jamie.
Keep going. So what you guys can see in these graphs is there's not zero activity, okay? There is activity, and it's starting to level off at these levels. What we're in, folks, is a market pause. People that have been in this business for a number of years know what a market pause is all about. We've already talked about what you can do in this market pause scenario. Reacquaint yourself with your client base. They all want to know what's happening in the market, and you've got information to share. You need to reset your business plans and take a look at new areas of business beside your client database. And of course, upgrade your skills in webinars. So here's what I do know. By the end of the year, everyone will do about the same business as they did last year, believe it or not. I can tell you from previous experiences dealing with top agents, a couple of years ago, I talked to one agent who always did $200,000 a year. First 6 months, when everyone was going gangbusters, she did $50,000 gross. Guess what? In the second half of the year, she did 150. So this year is not going to be what we expected to be, like 15% more sales than 2019. But this year is not going to be like some horrendous year from 20 years ago. This year's sales, when we get to the end of the year, are going to be about the same as 2019. So as we go through the pause, there's opportunities, and you need to remember that. Okay? Second thing we're going to learn from this market pause, and what I do know is when we come out of it, we're all going to do business differently than what we did before. We're going to be doing virtual showings. We're going to be doing virtual open houses. We're going to be video conferencing with our clients. We're going to learn to be much more efficient. We're going to cease to be just plain taxi drivers for our clients. So when things change around, the other thing that I really know is that this is an opportunity for people who aren't at the top to get to the top. When things stay the same, guess what? The people at the top stay at the top, the people down below stay down below. But when there's changes, everything changes and different people emerge. So here's your opportunity to be one of those people to emerge and move right to the top. So that's what I know about this market. And so the other thing I want to point out to you as we move to appointments booked, it does look pretty, it looks pretty depressing in one level. But here's what I know about these appointments being booked. We aren't recording virtual showings because we can't. Okay? You people know about virtual showings. We can't because this runs through our front desk system. We also know that the ratio of showings to sales has changed dramatically. Instead of people looking at 10, 15 properties and making an offer, they're only going to look at 1 or 2 and make an offer. So I wouldn't get overly concerned about appointments booked. Okay, so for me, I see lots of good news in the scenario because I see a lot of agents getting out of the business. So those that hang in, those that want to apply themselves and be smart, have huge opportunities to move forward. So that's what I see as the good news. Before I turn it over to Jerry, I just wanted to extend a special thanks to Pam Ritzy. After 16 years as a manager within our company, and she's decided that she wants to step back from a management role, and I certainly understand that. Pam started first at our Lakeshore office, and she started with myself and Roy Cocciolo at that office in a little plaza. But I've known Pam since the 80s. We are close friends. And so I want to thank her in front of all our agents here for her help, both to me over the years and to all of our agents. The good news is that Pam's going to be staying on as an agent. She's still going to be with us. And as she told me, she's still going to be approachable. She just doesn't want the day-to-day appearance at the Bay Street office. That being said, I'm really pleased to announce that Arlene Mazeral, once we're all back and our offices are open, will be our new manager of our Bay Street offices. So I'd like to congratulate Arlene and welcome her aboard. So that's, yeah, so I'll give a big hand to Pam and to Arlene for coming on. And as I said, I'm really excited about where we're going in the process. Next up, I'd like to ask Jerry, because I know how busy he is, Jerry Miller, manager we use for corporate business and for a lot of our agents, to say 2 questions that are probably top of mind. One, people keep asking me, is the land registry going to close or will it slow down? How are we going to close our deals? And the other question that everybody's asking me is what happens on a deal with the deposits when it's the buyer's sole fault that the deal doesn't close? And it's a firm deal, not a conditional deal, but a firm deal. So without further ado, Jerry, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jamie. And Jamie and I often love to debate real estate issues, and we don't necessarily always agree, but I agree with your comments there about the market. I'm going to make some general comments about the market as I see it from a lawyer's perspective. I'll just dwell a little bit about what's happening in my office and how deals are being closed, because you might be interested in knowing that. Give you some helpful hints on how you can help us so we can help you. And just, my general comment on the market. What's happening in the market as I see it? Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The market is shit. And there's nothing any of us can do about it. Between now and the mid-May, I probably have 20 to 25 deals that were already in the pipeline to close. But the lull that you are all feeling now, I'm gonna feel in mid-May, where no more deals are coming in the door. And when you start seeing activity come back for you, it's going to be a month or 2 before I see any activity. So that's what's happening in my office. In my office, 90% of the staff are working from home. 2 of my real estate clerks are still coming in the office. I'm in generally every day. I'm not there today, but we are still business as usual to the extent we can. I have a lot of agents ask me, what do you think we should be doing during this period? And Jamie just highlighted it. I think you do exactly what you're doing. You listen to your broker and his people. You perfect your marketing. I think now is the time to scour the internet to find new ways to promote yourself. Work on your database and be ready to go once the market returns. And make sure your marketing material is is ready to go when you come back. So what do I think the market will be like once this crisis stabilizes? It's interesting because no one has a crystal ball, but I think there will be a lot of sellers ready to jump into the market, so inventory will increase, and you have to be ready for those listing appointments and be able to deliver your message on why, after all this crap is going on, that homeowner should hire you instead of Joe. I hope there's no Joe on the meeting here, but why should they hire you? Just think about that for a minute. You generally, in the condo world, you're dealing with sophisticated buyers and sellers, and they're going to ask you pointed questions about. I'm sorry, I'm expecting a furniture delivery. Can everybody just let me pause for one moment?
Sure, Chair.
Hello. Yeah, what time are you going to be here? Thank you so much. Goodbye.
If anyone's got any questions for Jerry, you can add them to the chat, by the way.
Okay, sorry about that. That's why I'm home. I'm getting a furniture delivery. So what you really need to do with your sellers is be ready with what your value proposition is. Why should they, when you go to your listing appointment, hire you instead of one of the two other agents that they're looking at? And you need a wow, because when the gates open, there's going to be a lot of people out there shaking the trees, and you need a wow to be able to capture that business. Again, once this is over, there's lots of sellers, and I think there's going to be a lot of buyers who somehow have survived the financial crisis, and a lot of those are people in your market share, people who live in condos who are downtown. They're still working, they're still being paid, and they're going to want to take advantage of the low interest rates and the surplus of properties on the market. And I think that's going to go on for a few months, and I think it will, as Jamie says, take us to the end of the year. But then what happens after that? I mean, there's a lot of people who are not working, a lot of people whose income is going to decline, and interest rates are going to start to increase because Trudeau has pumped $80 billion into the economy, and the only way he's done that is printed money. So that's going to that devalues our currency, and it devalues our economy, creating inflation. So I personally can see interest rates next year rising between 2% and 3% before this is all over. And many of you weren't around. Jamie can attest to this. When I broke into the business, mortgage rates were 18%, and they were over 10% up until the mid-90s. So what we experience now is really historically unusual, and we may see a little bit of that old interest rates returning, which will make it harder for people to qualify for mortgages. And I'll let Jamie comment on how that might impact the market, but it may be a bit more challenging for a lot of you to qualify your buyers. Okay, what's happening with lawyers and closing deals? Well, it's not easy. The good news is the Land Registry Office will not close. It will absolutely not close. I heard that directly from Jeffrey Lem, who's the Director of Land Titles. He assured me that we are not closing under any circumstances. So that means we will always be able to register transfers. Banks are open, but many branches are closed, and many branches are on shorter hours, so that makes our banking difficult. Mortgages are still being approved and being advanced. It's business as usual, just a bit more work because you can't get a hold of people. The title insurers, specifically Stewart Title and FCT, have added endorsements on deals to insure over things such as gap coverage, where we can't get a deal closed or registered on a particular day. Say it's a Friday and you hit 5 o'clock and you can't register. There's an insurance that can allow us to exchange keys, notwithstanding money has not necessarily been delivered. So that's a great tool for us as lawyers to get people in their homes during this crisis. Some of the problems. Well, many of my colleagues' lawyers' offices, staff refuse to come into work. That creates a problem for me because we phone people and we can't get a hold of anybody. We can't get a hold of lawyers. We can't get a hold of their clerks, and people aren't answering their phones. And answering emails is delayed, so it's challenging sometimes for my staff to get things done. As I indicated, branch hours have been reduced, so they close at 3 o'clock for us, which means getting certified checks is very, very hard. A lot of deals We don't get mortgage money until early to mid-afternoon, and then we have to get checks certified. And if we don't get the money before 3, we can't certify checks. So that's where title insurance comes in, maybe help us.
Sorry, Jerry, I just have a question. Is that the escrow closing?
You can refer to it as an escrow closing. Yes. I mean, let me just clarify that. In the past, it was not unusual where we'd hit 5 o'clock and for whatever reason, the money's been delivered, the keys have been delivered, but we go past 5 o'clock and we can't register the transfer. So the lawyers can actually make a deal. It's called an escrow deal, where the keys can be released and the lawyer will not release the funds until the deed is registered the next morning. And that's so as to not to inconvenience the parties. And that's what we call an escrow closing. With title insurance, they've always insured over that gap, but now it's more specific to deal with COVID, that in the event that there is a delay, for example, the land registry office closing for whatever reason, they will insure over it for a period of time. So it's kind of an enhanced escrow closing. Hopefully that answers the question. What else is happening? Insurance companies are short-staffed. We can't close a purchase deal without insurance. So it's been challenging following up with insurance companies, put insurance on properties. Couriers are slower. Sometimes they don't even show up. That creates a problem for us. But the biggest problem is we cannot see our clients, and many of our clients refuse to see us. I have clients who are stranded out of the country. They have closings and they can't get back here. And of course, lawyers, we require wet signatures. I know I get this question from realtors all the time. And no, we can't email the documents to the clients and have them sign them and returned. We must be present when they sign. And no, we can't DocuSign closing documents ever. Let me say that again. We can never DocuSign closing documents. I get asked that question all the time by clients and agents. Well, why can't you? Well, my agent told me you can't. No, right now, the present state of affairs is that we have to have wet signatures, but there's good news. So what do we do? I mean, I've been lucky because, I have a large international client base, being downtown condo lawyer. So I've been doing virtual video signings for 2 years, even though the Law Society advised me 2 years ago that I shouldn't be doing it. So I'm set up and my staff is set up. So why did the Law Society say it? Well, the Law Society has always taken the position that they interpret the words "in the presence of" to mean the actual presence of. But when I pointed out to them there was never a court determination on that issue anywhere in the world, they just simply shrugged their shoulders and said, we can only tell you what we think you should do. So I actually just decided not to follow the Law Society, and I've been doing video signings for 2 years. So how do I do it? And you might find this interesting. So what we do is we start getting to the know your client documentation right up front. So copies of their passport and driver's license is generally what we like at the very beginning. Therefore, for whatever reason the client's not available, then I can video, FaceTime, Skype, and sign them up. And as long as I can see them sign the statutory declaration or an affidavit, then I can commission that signature or witness it. And when the documents come back, I can sign it that way. So we have to, the only thing we have to do is give ourselves enough time to sign virtually, depending on where in the world they are. If they're in Canada, generally we get the documents back in a day or 2 days. If they're in Europe, 2 days. If they're in Asia, 3 days. So as agents, please don't give us a 14-day closing when a client's in China. It makes it very, very difficult for us. But right now, the Law Society has changed their tune. They've actually decided that after all these years, in the presence of actually does no longer mean in the actual presence of. It means, it can mean in the video presence of. So they've actually flipped the whole thing. And now all lawyers are going to be able to do what I'm doing, and that is video signings. So there's no reason why clients can't get things signed, and they can't use that reason as a way to get out of a contract, or that the fact that they've been frustrated from closing their deal. All right.
Quick question, Jerry. Jamie here. What do they have to be present? What about advancing mortgage funds?
Okay, I'm just about to get that.
Okay, sorry.
On a sales deal, it's on a video signing. It's very, very straightforward because you don't need to deal with any instructions. But there is problems with mortgages. I can get, and I have been getting most major banks to agree to let me do video signings for the last couple of years. Most prime lenders who are not Schedule A banks insist in their instructions, which is something I have to follow, that we have to meet the person or the client in person. That creates a problem. So what do we do in those cases? In those cases, we would actually hire an agent in a foreign jurisdiction, whether it's British Columbia, Alberta, Hong Kong, to meet with a lawyer or a notary to act as our agent to sign them up in the presence of. Then they would courier the documents back to us, and we close that way. But again, we need enough time to do that. There are these prime lenders who are not Schedule A banks who actually prohibit that exercise too. So just be careful when you're qualifying your buyers and where they're getting their mortgage, especially now that they find out what their lender's criteria are with respect to signings if they're not going to be around. So what's the message here? When you're qualifying your buyers and inserting a closing date, make sure they're going to be they're going to be in town. I can't tell you how many times I get a deal in and the client calls me and says, "Oh, by the way, I'm spending $2 million on a condo, but I'm not going to be in town on the closing date." So make sure that you explain to them the problems, especially now. And if they're not going to be in town, let's get proactive and plan right away. Closing on the same day. In May, I have 2 clients who are closing their deals on the same day. I don't know how I'm going to do it. It's impossible. So don't do it. Please don't do it. You're not doing yourself, your client, or me any service by trying to do it. And when I ask the client, well, why did you do it? Their answer always is, well, my agent said it's always done that way. There's no problem. I know a lot of you know better, but just help me out and try not to put me in that position. Jamie, this goes to you in your office too. When we get deals, if the agent could email the lawyer right away, because when your office sends out the deals, it's sometimes delayed and it comes from an email address that no one recognizes and it gets caught up in our spam. There's no title, there's no reference, and many times we don't even open it because we don't know where it's coming from. And a lot of lawyers have that same issue. My instructions to my staff are, if you don't know where the email is coming from, don't open it because of viruses. So I'm not sure if you can tweak that at your end, but the way to get around it is if you're an agent, just email us the agreement right away and make sure the clerk gets it as well. And the final thing I want to talk about is keys. Many of you, and Jamie has this in his back office, some of my condo clauses. And incidentally, I've sent Pam my COVID clauses. So if you want to circulate those, you can do that. Keys. We don't want to deal with keys ever, and especially now, we don't want to deal with keys. So if it's possible to leave a key in a lockbox at the premises for a few days after closing, and provide for that in the agreement, then all we need to do is phone in the code, and it makes it easier for the broker, the agent, and the lawyer. So if you guys can do that, it's going to help everybody a lot. In fact, I know a lot of people selling houses, outside the GTA, not condos. They're actually giving their sellers or the buyers the lockbox. They just leave it there after closing, and it's a cost of doing business. And that's a great way of moving keys around. So anyway, those are my comments, and happy to take questions.
Gary, I thought you were going to touch on the deposit.
Oh, I'm sorry, the deposit. Okay, so I do have that. I got it here. Okay, so can a buyer cancel a deal? No, a deal's a deal, a contract's a contract, and they can't use COVID as an out. And if they do not close, their deposit is at risk. So the purpose of the deposit is good faith money. And if a buyer defaults, then the seller can actually treat the deal as terminated and forfeit the deposit. The buyer and seller may need to go through an exercise of how they get that deposit released. It's a bit complicated. RICO requires, or RICO strongly recommends brokers do not release money without a mutual release or a direction or a court order. My view is that a broker can release the money whenever they want, but they may be putting themselves at risk if they release a deposit to a seller on an aborted deal without getting a proper indemnity from the seller or even the agent. So does that answer that question, Jamie? Oh,
Yeah, that's a good answer. And I have your email, and maybe we'll post it in the back too.
Yeah, it's a couple other things. Tenants, a lot of you do property management work with tenants. A lot of tenants are asking landlords to not pay rent, defer rent, reduce rent. Again, a deal's a deal, a lease is a contract. But I encourage all of you agents who do property management work is that the world out there is accommodating people who are hard hit financially. I'm not sure how you do it, but there's deferrals, there's reductions in rent, there's 2-month forgiveness of rent, things like that. It's better to do that than go the default route, because you can't do anything now anyway. The courts are all closed. You can't evict a tenant, so you're better off working with them somehow than taking a hard line.
Okay, perfect, Jerry. Any questions?
You're an easy crowd.
Okay, where are we in the agenda, Pamela?
All right. So we
Okay, so I'm going to go. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you,
Good luck out
Jerry.
there. Stay safe, all right?
You bet.
Thank you.
All right, so we're actually moving into, so I've been watching what a lot of people, oh, sorry, am I still muted? No, I'm good. Sorry. We've been watching what a lot of people, I've been watching what a lot of our agents have been doing in terms of how they're, managing their business, what are they doing? And I really wanted to take this opportunity to showcase Rod Lamucci's team, because I've seen these brilliant webinars that they've been putting on. So I wanted to share the floor with Rod and his team to describe a little bit about what they're doing and perhaps inspire some of you to consider something along the same lines. So Rod, if you're available, you and your team, you're welcome to unmute, and please, the floor is yours.
Thank you everyone. I hope everybody getting used to this e-life by now. Yes. Really, the whole concept of these webinars we created because there were so many questions myself that I wasn't aware of with this, given the environment we are. And it was really something is challenging that I should learn and also convey this message to every other, specifically the agents who we work, because nowadays the deal falls apart due to the lack of the knowledge of this environment. So if we have this information weeks ago, probably many of the deal would have been saved. Because if I know it's not good enough, the other side must know, which is cooperating agent or a listing agent, how to deal with the objective of the clients. The clients have very much issue of when you want to get the listings, how do you go about it? And then how do you advertise it? And how do you make this action? So we really does, our webinars help us to get the listing, which we listed just 2 days ago. We have showing coming today, and then we have open houses setting up for Friday. And then another client of ours are waiting to see how is the action with this happening so they can list their property. And so it is a very much information that we gain and we convey to our clients. And basically some of these webinars are, it's specifically for this environment at this moment. However, many of those topics is also good forever. It's just a default answer for many things that we did know. However, it's just rephrased, and many of our clients really enjoy this type of thing because they can stay in their own comfort zone. They can listen it with their own family. The feedback has been amazingly positive in that regard. So it really coping with this new environment of we call it campaign education, which I think letter E supersede I. I used to be I book, and I think now is E is taking over the from that session there. We try to mix the things there. We have this Friday, please, if you can join, it's amazing. We have Joe Fitness, something that is going to change the subject of this environment of education a little bit, to give you, to take you away from your couch or a seat, move you around. If you can join this Friday at 4 o'clock, that would be really fantastic. Of course, this Friday, we're setting up two also e-open houses with the two different properties we're listing. So it's going to be a short half an hour that also we are setting up as according to the TREP situation with the live stream. And also we're trying to next week, this Friday, we're going to take your breath away. And next week, we're going to work on your breath. We have also Nidhi Sachwala, who she is going to work on your breath and also the meditation. So this is an amazing situation. We are learning substantially from this, and we have to be innovative. Actually, I happen to be work harder, even though not moving around so much, I mean, outside, but I felt I'm so busy. And with all these webinars, we're talking with the e-education and certain things that, so I hope that you can enjoy, and also you do the same things. Just look at your very close resources. I didn't need to go much further. I look around who I deal with in terms of the mortgage, on the lawyer, in terms of the tenant issues, in terms of the services, just within your own resources, you know, a sphere of resources influence, and then look around and invite them, and invite your client, and invite other agents, because as I mentioned, single person is not good enough. We have to educate everybody. And once everybody knows about how to cope with this situation, then the deals would be a lot much smoother. And definitely we will have to answer for our client's objective in terms of the selling, in terms of the what if I sell my property and I buy another one and the buyer doesn't close, and what's going to happen. So that's what the clause is coming, that we can construct a clause that, you know, they can be postponement and some clauses like that. So it is a very important to use this situation, and we are gaining a lot more information, and it will be much better for everyone.
Rod, I wanted to ask a couple of questions.
Sure.
How many participants do you typically have in your e-sessions?
Well, it varies. That mostly our clients that we do have certain times in about 25 to 30, and then we do have, and it's depending to the topic, but in average is about probably nice about 25.
Excellent. And how many e-sessions, like when you started to plan this, how many different topics had you considered, or is this sort of just growing as you get through one topic, all of a sudden you think of something else?
Yeah, actually we started with mainly because we found out that the bank, because we had an issue with one of our deal with the bank. So that was just initially coming to mind. So we need to get someone, and who is better than Roy? So it was really nice and then easy to get in a schedule from him, and we set up. And you know, he you don't have to you know, ask him any question. He will cover everything during his introductory. And then from then we noticed that, well, there are closing coming with the tenant and the landlord. And then we got Sharon in the board. That's really amazing. He gave us so much of the information there, you know. And then we noticed that, but again, from one to another one, the postponement and also closing is not happening. And I happened to deal with a lot with the Joseph Fish. So I invited Joseph Fish, and he's, during this time, he gave us some, you know, brief about that he mentioned the same thing as the Jerry Miller, that the deal is not happening or now is happening, you know, they have to be creative. And from then we noticed that, okay, so we all going to get to different ways, and then let's get some fun having a Friday coming, and then let's have some fitness, have some kind of, let's celebrate the long weekend as used to be, just treat it as a long weekend anyways, and then let's just move. And I think with this information, we all going to be better, and definitely has a positive section for us. Otherwise, if we sit and we just rely on the let things get better, it's going to take longer, because as you know, every deal you do, it's going to be paying back 60 days or 3 months later.
Right.
So we do have to start now.
Excellent. Excellent. That was one of the reasons why I asked you to come in and share this, because I was certainly excited to see everything that you had been doing, and the topics sound interesting. I love the idea of a sort of a non-business type topic. I know some of you have interests outside of real estate. Yes, I can hardly believe that. But you may even want to share something along those lines. Jamie, we should still do our Thirsty Thursday this way.
Yeah, if people want to watch me drink, I guess drinking with Jamie or whatever. Anyway, that was a great segue into Roy here, Roy Cocciolo, patiently waiting at the Golden Gate Bridge to answer 2 questions. One, availability of money. Are lenders still out there lending? And if they are, what range of rates are you seeing?
Well, 2 things. First of all, I want to say thank you to Pamela Ritzy for being a wonderful manager with you for the past. I've known her, past 15, 16 years. And I want to say thank you to Pam for all your service you've done.
You want to take the credit for introducing Pam to her husband, right?
Yes, that's right. I'm the reason why they got married. So I take that forever to the grave. And also congratulations, Arlene, for your new position with us, and looking forward to working with you as well. Thank you, Jamie. Guys, you know what? It's business as usual for sure for the mortgage industry. The effects it's having is the fact that lenders are a little bit tighter. B-side lenders, because of the way the appraisals are working right now, they're cutting back loan to values. They used to go to 80%. Now the norm on a B-side lender is going to be 75%. Banks are still a full range of products. It just takes a little bit longer to get them underwritten, simply because of skeleton staff. And we are finding right now, it's not so much about getting the client signed up and getting documents for mortgages. It's just a lot of the process in the back end that's becoming tied up because they've never had to do this before. Namely, when they usually ask for employment letters, most offices are closed, so they cannot get those anymore. So the banks are now asking for pay stubs and bank statements to go along with the pay stubs, showing deposits in there. The appraisers are not actually going into the properties any longer. They're asking that the homeowner take some interior pictures and send it to the appraiser, as they do mostly exterior pictures on that side of things. So things are a little bit different, but the good news is the fact that deals are still getting done. The only thing that's not doing so well right now is a lot of private lenders are no longer lending at this moment at anything more than 50 or 60% loan to value. They're just afraid the fact that if it goes sideways, they cannot foreclose, the courts are closed, sheriff departments are closed. So we're going to step away a little bit until this thing gets cleared up. But the good news is also the fact that, it seems that everyone's following protocol. People are staying home. We're slowing down this COVID-19. And because it's basically a pandemic and not an economic issue, you'll find a rebound in the economy come back pretty quickly. I would definitely recommend that you guys spend time calling your clients, touching base with them, not necessarily to sell them something, but just let them know that you're there. Because at this time here, you don't want to push that idea, but just touch base with them, see how they're doing, how they're coping. I find that goes a long way, and I end up getting referrals, and we talk about different things, and you end up talking about money, and you end up talking about their situation. So it's always good to reach out to your clients, especially now that markets are slower, so you don't have a lot of time. You have a ton of time to reach out to these people and actually have a conversation with them. And we're finding that even our end, we just talking to people and we're just finding how they're doing, and it's definitely helping us out and being top of mind. Definitely use social media. We've done a lot of different social media stuff with information for COVID for our clients. Feel free to use that information and pass it along. We can do all the research for you, so definitely take the time and using those squares if you need to. And if you need any help with that, you can give us a call, 100%. So that's basically it. So there's still money out there. Private's very, very tight. The B-side lenders are cutting back loan to values. And the A side is business as usual. It's just the process in the back end takes a little bit longer, especially for refinances. If someone's looking to refinance and purchase another property, the more time you give us, the better it is. When it comes to rates, rates are hovering around the 3% mark. It's starting to settle a little bit down. I noticed that some of the monoline lenders' rates are starting to fall a little bit. Variable rates are no longer prime minus. Most of them are prime plus right now, or prime, simply because there's a liquidity issue. The government's expecting all this money to go into the commercial side of things to keep businesses afloat. This increased the cost of funds, so that's why rates have been going up in the past little while. So if you're coming up for renewal, I tell them the same thing. If you can get into a HELOC right now and hang on to that and lock in more into the fall when rates will settle down, when this COVID thing is kind of over, that's probably your best solution and strategy at the moment. Because, I mean, a HELOC's at 295 and a variable rate's at 275. You know what? You might as well just wait a little while and get the lower rate in the fall. So we will discuss different options with your clients, but rates right now are still very, very volatile. And the pricing is not where it should be, but that'll come with time as soon as this pandemic and everybody's back into a normal pattern. And all these government incentives are going to be cashed out, and then you'll find that the rates will definitely settle back down in the fall. But also, don't think this is going to end in the next few weeks either. This may be something that social distancing and may take us all the way through the fall and even till next year. So everything that you know and how we socialize with people may change, and you got to be prepared for that. So guys, listen, stay safe. Things are good out there. I mean, we're still writing business. It's not as busy as we expect in the spring market, but there's still people looking. And if you have buyers, I highly encourage them to go purchase now when there's not going to be 20 different offers and competing. It allows them to get something that they can get with the little less work, if you want to call it that way, looking for a place. So definitely don't be shy. I'm counting your buyers and encourage them, because right now is a great time. They're not going to be competing, which makes your job easier and makes them feel better. Any other questions?
I had a question, Roy. I asked if appraisals are coming in lower now.
On refinance, typically yes. And what's happening now is they're having a statement in the appraisal that gives them a range. It's not an exact anymore.
Right.
But I haven't seen too many come in too light. There's a few that definitely on refinance that have, but purchases have been coming in pretty normally.
Excellent, thank you. Anybody else? Questions for Roy? I see that, Chris, you put a link to Your Mortgage Your Way's Instagram account. So if you're looking for some perhaps Instagram items to share, check that out.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just to let you know, guys, we're here for you on that side thing. If you need help with social media, or you need to make sure you need some content for your social media, please contact us. Chris does a great job looking for stuff on this, and we're there to share it with all of you. So if you guys need something, please ask us. We'll be more than happy to get you whatever you need.
Excellent.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Enjoy, be safe, enjoy your family time, and pick up the phone and call your clients.
Thanks, Roy.
Have a good day. And happy Easter, everyone.
All right, so I asked Yasna if she had any updates. Jamie, I don't know if on Yasna's behalf there was any back office updates that you wanted to share, but we've got a bullet point to hold that conversation.
I just have, just to remind people that we run the payroll once a week now. We have a skeleton staff in here to do checks. Yasna and Ada are in only 2 days a week, and the rest of the time they're working from home. We're looking at various options for balanced vendor checks, but we don't have anything to say on that just yet. So we're interested in any feedback in terms of challenges with the back office and admin for any of the agents out there.
Also, the deposits coming in, most of them I think have been coming in by electronic fund transfer, but once in a while we get some
wire transfer.
Oh, wire transfer. And
there's a difference.
sorry about that, you're right. We have had a few people come being told by their agent that they can just come and drop off deposits. Well, keep in mind that our office is not open to the public. So if you, as the listing realtor, wants to take the deposit and bring it in, you can, but your clients may have a hard time, or the other party may have a hard time dropping off a deposit, keeping in mind our limited hours, and as well the fact that the door is locked to the public. So just keep that in mind. If you have questions or that presents a challenge, just call us.
I'm just interrupting. There is someone at the front desk. So what will happen is they'll hold it up, they'll put it on the ground and step back, but we aren't giving receipts. Okay? We're not giving receipts.
It's like a drug deal now.
Pardon?
So it's like a drug deal now.
Well, cash is always, no, I'm just joking about cash. Okay. I think no questions on the back office.
All right. So,
as we do, is there a government program that we know of to support realtors? I guess that goes into your next thing, Pam.
Yeah.
That's the next topic, and Pam, take it away.
Sure. So the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit is available for people who are self-employed. And so I've put the link here in the screen. I think you can probably click on that. I think we've also got it in our Google Drive. I'm not going to ask how many of you have already attempted to apply for that, but that's the one that pays, I think it's $500 a week.
Sorry, Pamela, before we move on, just a note from Nadine. If the agents are dropping off deposits, if they put their business card in the envelope, the deposit can be emailed to them. Or sorry, the receipt can be emailed to them.
Perfect. Thanks, Nadine, for sharing that. And thanks, Jackie.
Good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it pays $2,000 a month. So it's about $500 a week. The applications, you could start applying as of Monday, and they were doing it every quarter. So Monday was January, February, March. Tuesday was April, May, June. And then the next quarter, and then the final quarter. That's for this week. And I know they had lots of people who are applying for this. They had close to 1 million on the first day. That being said, you can always, if you find the website busy, you can always apply at another, like next week. And it's backdated to mid-March, when all of us were pretty much told to go home. So we've just got the information here that was shared. This was shared by CREA for all of the realtors. So you can have a look at the link. And Jackie's also just put the link into the chat. And Arlene's got, the benefit is for 14 days after no income, e.g. a commission check. So some of you, if you earned a commission that closed on April 1st or anytime within the last 14 days, you might have to wait for a bit, but.
You have to wait 14 days. It's Jamie jumping in. Okay? And a couple people asked me, what happens? Can I defer my commission such that I can apply for this? And the answer is no. People defer commissions towards the end of the year for payment the next year. So we're not allowing people to defer commissions for 14 weeks and then get their commissions after they've collected the $2,000 a month. Revenue Canada will be all over both the individual and the brokerage for that. But there are a number of you that you see a dry period of 4 to 8 weeks or whatever. As soon as the 14 days is up, just apply right away. And if you can't get in this week, you can keep applying the next week. Starting next week, anybody can apply any day. So it's just a matter of getting in there. So is there any questions on that?
Joyce, did you have a question? I see that there's a hand raised here.
Yeah, Joyce here. Everyone, hi. I am, just call me paranoid, but regarding like receiving check with the envelopes, I think it's important. Also, they were mentioning the virus can stay on cardboards and metal and plastics for a couple hours or even like over days, right? So, just want to remind about it. If there's any way, like we have this special way at home to just to spray on everything, but I think that's also a concern. I know it's a little bit too much, but like when you mentioned every time when we were trying to drop off keys, and even like just to drop off the checks, that just to watch out for that.
I know Olga's wearing gloves now, isn't she? She's got like the medical gloves and wipes down everything.
Okay.
Good comments though, just to, again, be aware, try and stay home as much as possible. I know that we're deemed an an essential service. So there's a reason why, and that's because people have to have somewhere to live. I always comment the fact that, they tell us to stay at home, and guess what business we're in? We're in the home business. So it's something that really puts us in a prime location, a prime opportunity for us to talk to our clients. Any other money questions that anybody wanted to ask that we have not addressed? All right, so our last slide is about learning, and we wanted to let you know that there's tons of great stuff out there. Yesterday, for example, I attended a session called 8 Factors to Master Your Personal Finances as a Realtor, and that was hosted by Enrich Academy, brought to me by Remax Integra. So Remax Integra is bringing lots of really great topics. Remax University has lots of great topics, and our own brokerage is bringing in some actual topics as well. So we've got Collaborate. If you have not studied Collaborate yet, you may want to consider that this is something great that your clients could explore looking at properties, and you can teach them how using Collaborate. So I'm doing a session next week. We're going to do intro to Instagram later on in the month. So we've got a wide variety of topics. Of course, we're here on an ad hoc basis too. So if anybody has a question or is not sure, we're available by phone. There's always a manager in the office during operating hours, which is kind of great. And if not, we're virtually here as well. So you can always reach out to us in this format. Anytime somebody needs help with documentation, I'm available. I can, we can Zoom together. I can give you control of the screen. You can show me what you're working on. And we found that to be very effective. So even with some of the newer realtors, this is how we're working to get their 4-week fast track process done. So I'd also like to ask, has anybody else attended a really great learning session that you wanted to share? You can either tell us or you could type it. There's probably lots of topics.
So much of a learning, but Guy wants to know, Jamie, what are you recommending to sellers who are thinking to sell? Should they wait a bit or list now?
What sellers have to realize is that the pool of buyers is smaller now than it was in January and February. So, my advice to sellers is if you sell now, you're going to get less money than you did if you'd have sold in February.
I've got an observation.
Either wait to September, or there are some people that need to sell now. It's not as if they're going to have a huge cut in selling prices, but selling prices will be softer, and they won't get the multiple offers. So it's up to the seller whether they want to go now or not. I can tell you, I just looked this morning. I think we have the highest number of listings that we've had this year at 250 right now. So a number of sellers, I think, are coming to the market because they want to sell now, and they probably think they're going to get the prices of February, and they're not. So that's the message to sellers.
I've got an observation, if I can.
Yeah, jump in.
Roy. I'm not in the downtown market, obviously. I'm in C11 mostly. And I ran the sold since March 1st. Not a lot of them, but 50% of them went over asking, both condo and freehold. So that's the kind of thing I'm sharing with my sellers who are kind of holding off. And especially if they have a vacant unit, because I'm dealing with all these estates. A lot of them are vacant. So we do the virtual tour, and I'm pushing them to take advantage of low inventory where I am. So I think everybody needs to know the stats in their district, in their neighborhood. And that's a very positive message that I'm sharing. There's still, the boards are afraid to have strangers coming into the building. And I have to work with that. But anyway, I think it's a positive for us.
Thanks, right. Janie, just another one. Guy wants to know, so you're thinking the market will recoup and when? And then Celia asked if you see the price dropping.
Pamela, I was going to ask, we should put that link up to Benjamin Tall's talk on the economy.
Yes.
Okay. What do I think? Some people think that because we had such a dive down, the recession will be a V and it'll just bounce right up. I don't think we're going to bounce right back up because we've got to work through a lot of problems. I think you're going to see a normal market by the fall. I don't think you're going to see people out and about until probably, my guess is about May 15th to June 1st is what I think. I mean, all you got to do is look at what happened in China, and the lockdowns there were severe, much stronger than here, and it took them 76 days to open. So we closed, what, March 15th? 76 days takes you to, what, about May, June 1st, is that right? April, May, and half of March, yes. So, and we didn't shut down quite to an extreme as they did. So we probably won't start back in as quickly as they did. Just my guess, but I would recommend that you click on the video link and listen to Benjamin Tall talk about the economy. But I would think by September, things should be pretty well back to normal. As I said, you know, here's what I know. I think by the end of the year, when you look at the total year in total, we're going to get back pretty close to what we did in 2019. But everybody, of course, was hoping 2020 was going to be 15% more than 2019. So we did have a very strong January and February and first 15 days of March. I guess Chilla wants to know, do we see prices dropping? I think Roy makes a valid point. I think it depends on what the listing inventory is in various markets, Chilla. I, myself, overall, I think prices are going to come off 5% from the peaks in February. And then I think it'll get right back by the end of the year back up again. So that's my expectation of the market.
And I see, Arlene, you've got a question. Your hand's up.
No, I just wanted to mention that I took a luxury marketing institute course. I originally took the course a couple of years ago with Remax Integra, and their expert was suggesting that if you can't really stage properties now for some of the higher end or even lower end condos or houses, what she recommended, and she's from Toronto actually, is to drop off items on the doorstep or in the building for people to pick up, like cushions and artwork, just something to help get the property ready for sale before the photographer comes in, and do, you know, sort of a virtual suggestion of what to do to help the home. If you want to avoid going in, just have the talk with people about, get them to go with their phone and show them the property and suggest how to clear the property, and give them recommendations about cleaning, etc., because a professional cleaner is not going to be coming in. So have as much conversation virtually as possible. But the recommendation of actually selling them the stuff that you're giving them so you don't get it back.
Yeah.
If
Good
you
point,
have
Arlene.
a stock, like I have a large stock of staging items, so I would sell them the items.
Good point, Arlene. And I'm also, Pamela, what about virtual staging? Because there is a product for that, is there not?
Yes, Jackie, did you want to speak to, because there's Box Brownie and there's probably a few other companies that do virtual staging. Typically,
Yeah,
we
I
like
think it
to.
only really works well on like vacant places, right? I mean, I guess this would be the time to do it. I've never been a fan of the virtual staging though.
I know that.
I always found that once they go in there, it's like, it's just for the photos and it kind of looks, it feels like you're being lied to because you can tell.
Marta,
So it makes you wonder what's up.
I'm going to ask Marta. Marta, you use virtual staging on one of your listings on Lakeshore, and you had them for photos and so on. But how did you find virtual staging, and who did you use?
I can share the contact who I used. I think they charge like per picture about, I don't know, $90 per picture. So you have to choose which picture you want to be staged. They can suggest which one are the best. And I use Genesis View for pictures, and I just provided them with pictures.
Excellent. Okay, yeah, if you don't mind sharing out, you can always, if you have the contact readily available, you can pop it in the chat. Otherwise, send it to us and we'll make sure to get that out to people. Anybody else use any virtual staging services that you would like to comment on?
Not for that, but going back to, I think it was a CERB thing. So Joyce mentioned that rents are considered income to prevent getting the government support.
Oh.
I don't know if that's, I didn't think of that, but yeah.
Well, I would think on the properties, it's the net. It's rent minus all your expenses, right? Is it positive or negative? So you could be getting rents, but it doesn't cover the costs.
Yeah. And sorry, Irma was asking if this is going to be recorded and if we're posting it. We did post the last one. We're going to try and post this one too. I'm not sure, Pamela, I think you're hosting, so I'm hoping that you have it recording. So I'll take a look at that, but we'll also be sharing everything that we've shared in the chat.
Thanks, Jackie. Okay, so we're now slightly over our 1 hour time limit. We wanted to ask one more question, and that is, would you like to meet in this format on a weekly basis where perhaps we could just do, maybe a mini agenda, a shorter agenda, and maybe meet for 45 minutes just to kind of get updates from people, to share updates as things change? Would you like to do it Wednesdays? So I'd love to check a pulse on that. You can raise your hand using the tool. I think that when you click on yourself, you can raise your hand, and that should allow us to quickly get a poll for what you feel.
It's a good idea.
It's a good idea. Where do you raise the hand though? Don't see.
If you click on your name.
Under participants too, I think.
Under participants, okay. Thanks, Jackie. Yeah, I see Lori, I see Arlene, I see a few people have raised their hands.
Oh.
If I can see you, you can also just raise your hand because I can see you.
I don't know how to turn
Yes,
the camera
yes. I think I hear somebody chatting. Who is that? Somebody saying yes. No. Yeah, and if you've dialed in, then of course you can't raise your hand, but I'm going to take you for saying yes. Whether you meant to say yes or not, I'm just going to say yes. Okay, so, oh yeah, Chris, nice feedback there. So I see a lot of yeses. So Wednesday, 10 o'clock, is that good? Do you want to say Tuesday? I'm not too sure what other sessions we have. So I guess we kind of have to look at the calendar before I commit to anything for us, Jackie.
Yeah, hold on. I have the calendar, or I had the calendar up for a second, but
The other thing too is I know that sometimes people are all over the place, and you may find that you need some help from one of your colleagues downtown. So I did want to point out that there's a few people who, you know, live really close to the office. There's, you know, people that live all over the place, that if you need help with anything, to reach out to your colleagues here. Again, people can put out if they're available and what areas they might be able to help you with. But if you're up in Richmond Hill or Markham and you can't get downtown to do some aspect of your job, please reach out and see if you can make arrangements with one of your colleagues downtown to help you out. I think this is really a great opportunity for us to look at how we can leverage each other for the better. Take advantage of that.
I think the other thing I'd like to suggest for the meeting is we're going to go around and try and find some good news in terms of getting some of our agents to talk about how they just completed a sales transaction, you know, in the last week or so, and what they did.
Great idea.
And as for next week, Pamela, next week you're doing your Collaborate session at 1. So we can always have a meeting in the morning, or Arlene suggested we can always do bi-weekly too.
I'm just doing a closing today, and my clients are living in Waterloo now in a bed and breakfast, and they didn't want their check mailed. There's some excess. The deposit was quite large, so there's some balance to vendor owing, and it was going to be mailed, but they weren't comfortable with it being mailed to their B&B host. So I was going to deliver it to them because I know that the office isn't open. And I just wanted to provide that service to them. But I was hoping they'd agree to or suggest to meet halfway. So that's what they did, in fact. They're such nice people. So we're going to meet in Milton. And also I'm dropping keys off for the first time. I've been a realtor for 7 years now. It's the first time I'm dealing with keys on closing. So for the new owners today, they'll get a lockbox with all of the keys in it. Luckily, I have a large lockbox because there are a lot of keys. So I'll be going downtown today. I live in the East End, in the beaches. So it'll be nice to have a drive to Milton, and I can legally do it. So I'm happy to get out of town.
And Jamie, if possible, that we set up these webinars, and if these webinars really require, participants. These people are putting their volunteer time, and they are all professionals. So if we can also put these very important webinars, either through the fitness or educational, that we can put it in the calendar and the people and our agents can participate, that will be also amazing. That if we can, and it occupies some of the time, very useful time that now we have in our hands.
I'm good with that. I don't mind that idea at all. I think it's a great idea to share other topics. We can put them on the training calendar, I believe. And again, Jackie, I hate to speak on your behalf, but at the same time, we may not necessarily be doing a whole bunch of emails out to people for reminders, just because what happens is if we send too many reminders out, you stop listening to the reminders, and then we could miss something really important. So maybe we could compromise with being able to have them on the calendar, but perhaps people would then have to go and be proactive about looking at that stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know, like, we're promoting our own, and like I said, we're not necessarily sending out reminders about all of the stuff that Remax and Treb have to offer, but they are on our calendar, and you can register through our calendar as well. So we're just hoping people take the time to look at it and see what's available.
Everybody knows where the calendar is, I hope, by now.
I don't know. I feel like they don't.
It's on the Agent Tools page. Does everybody know that?
Yeah, Pamela's got her screen up. She can show you where it is.
So remaxcondosplus.com/agent-tools.
That should be your homepage.
Yeah, that's on my favorites. And then the calendar is here. And Jackie has been updating calendar, so you'll see there's a whole bunch of great content on here. Again, we're constantly going out and looking for some great topics. DISC, for example, I think everybody should participate in understanding their DISC profile. It'll help you understand your clients better, but look at all the great topics. And then the other thing is the video. So again, when people have great videos, we also share them out. So if you're looking to learn a little bit more about how to use Zoom, well, here's all the stuff regarding Zoom conferencing. So again, it's self-help, self-serve, which is great. And then the next thing is get your clients involved.
And Pamela, I think the DISC personality is under Learn to Earn as well.
Excellent.
Like I think we already have it there. If people can't make the online webinars, we have a past version.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Oops, didn't want to go there. But yes, so now you know where it is. You can access that even from our homepage, from Remax Condos Plus homepage, and just down at the bottom of the page. The challenge that some people have is that the little chat bot comes up here and it makes it difficult to click on it, which is why I bookmark that page so I have quick access to it, because I don't want to have to try and click through Jackie's chat bot.
I'm sorry, I'll move my chat box.
Oh, that's okay. As long as people know how. But good comment. Anybody else? Last chance before we wrap things up.
In terms of, sorry, Steve was just asking about Jerry's clauses for COVID. Oh, someone's getting a call. Sorry, so Jerry's clauses are also going to be added into web forms under office clauses. We currently have our COVID clauses there, but we'll do one for Jerry's as well. So, and it's also in their resources folder already, if people want to access them from there.
Excellent. All right. Well, Jamie, if you have no other final comments, if there's no other final comments in the chat, why don't we sign off? Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy a long weekend. And remember, stay productive.
And remember, this is not a sprint. We're in a long race. It's the whole year. And at the end of the year, we'll have a big party and everybody will have lots of war stories to tell too. So thanks to every one of you who dialed in, and thanks to Pamela for organizing this sales meeting.
Bye, everyone.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I saved the chat, Jackie.
Okay, you're gonna end the meeting?